Welcome to the talk show Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. The goal of this show is to provide a learning experience to people of all ages, with guests from various fields in academics, a wide range of industries, and insight into the many forms of art, athletics, and entertainment. We hope you enjoy the show. Actress Jacqueline Murphy is our guest today. Jacqueline will talk about her experiences as an actress and her exciting news about her Emmy nomination.
Jacqueline Murphy, welcome to Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.
Hi there. Glad to be here. Thank you, Mark.
My pleasure. You know, I don't want to brag, but I did play the clarinet for many years and had pretty good wind power. And normally, if I go quickly, I can read someone's resume in one breath. Yours, not so much. Wasn't able to do it. I think I'd have to be a tuba player. So busy. But let's go way back, Jacqueline. When did you first get the acting bug?
Well, I was the eldest of six, and we grew up on Long Island, and I loved watching old movies with my mom, with Rita Hayworth and Gilda and Veronica Lake and Alan Ladd. So I would take everybody out to the backyard and reenact the scenes that we had just saw. And so I started doing what I loved at a very early age, directing and acting in it. And I just feel blessed, Mark, to be able to do that in my adult life.
That's incredible. I don't want to brag again, but the number of plays and movies I directed in my room as a 10-year-old would blow you away. But it's so great. So did you ever hear of the name Loretta Young?
Oh, yes. My mother would be watching her when I came home from school. I think she had like a show where she was a beauty queen.
Yes, and she came in and she twirled around. I only mention that because it's rare that people I interview mention the names Alan Ladd and people that you mentioned. But my grandfather, Harry Lubin, wrote all the music to Loretta Young. So when she came out, your mother would have known this, and twirled around. That song was called Dear Loretta. So I love when I hear I was like you. I was an old school fake actor. You're real, but I was an old school actor, director, producer at the age of 8, 9, and 10 also. So I just love that you really did get it so young.
Yeah, it's amazing, like the gifts that God brings you and the hidden talents that you have. And my mom was a creative person. She was an artist. She could hear any song on the radio and then go to the piano and play it. So she really encouraged like a lot of freedom and creativity in the house. So I feel blessed like that because, you know, she was fun. She had such a beautiful free spirit. And I just, you know, feel so fortunate to have grown up with a mom like her. Yeah.
Well, upbringing is so important because there are those parents, and you know who they are, who when you say, I want to be an NBA player, I want to be a singer, I want to be an actress, they really try to steer you in the other direction. Your mother sounds like someone that would steer you in whatever direction you wanted to be steered in.
No, my mom knew, you know, you needed to have a profession to fall back on. And she actually struggled quite a lot in life. And she said, I don't want you to be like me. I want you to have something to fall back on, and then you can do whatever you want. So I got out of school a year ahead. I was 17. I went to a 2-year college, Suffolk Community, got my RN degree at 19. My stepfather helped me to get a job at Suffolk Developmental Center with the children with developmental problems, and I went on to get my bachelor's. From there, I moved to New York, got a job at New York Hospital, and went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts and broke into the soap operas after I graduated playing a nurse. So her advice every day, I thank her. And her favorite saying was, always have an ace up your sleeve. So she helped me to have that.
That's great because as a teacher in my former life for over 32 years, people would say to me, and good athletes, I want to be a pro this, pro that. And I said, okay, and what if you don't make it? Or what if you make it and you get injured? You need something to fall back on. So most people, it's like, go get a business degree, go get this, go get that. RN, very demanding. And you kind of answered the question I think I'm going to ask anyway. Not just in the role in the soap opera, but did you bring some of your empathy, some of your training, some of your experiences as a nurse into your acting craft and your directing craft?
That's such a great question, Mark. Absolutely. I mean, I remember I was studying with Stella Adler, the Stella Adler at
Yeah.
City Center back in the 80s. And I was just sitting in Mrs. Brooks' coffee shop and started talking with someone who that was their number one question is, do you think you need to have empathy as an actor? And can you bring that from your nursing? And I said, absolutely. You have to feel like, how am I going to get into this character? Can I understand, what their point of view is and where the heart is emotionally, mentally? And I mean, I was the eldest, as I said, of six. So I was very connected with my mom and I had to empathize with her daily struggles and everything that was going on. So empathy, yeah, it's a gift. Not everybody can do that and has that ability.
Well, I've always said that you can never control everything, but you can always control your attitude about everything. It's interesting to me because in the same situation, I could see other people saying, yeah, my mother poo-pooed the acting and said, fall back on something. And obviously she gave you great advice, not just because it turned out, but that is great parenting advice. And I think it's wonderful that you took it that way. So I think that's a huge plus. But let's go back to some other things because I want to know what you love and what you hate about auditioning.
Okay. Well, right now I really love self-taping. But I do miss meeting the casting directors and the people there. But with self-taping, you can do as many takes as you want. Although my husband usually self-tapes me and he's, get it done. I need to move on to do something else. So really, like yesterday, we did an audition. I did it twice for one scene and twice for the other, and then off it went. But it's working out, it's getting more confident and trusting yourself and doing the crazy things that make the character more interesting to someone who is watching it. What I hate is the reason I started doing short form drama comedy shows, which are also known as web series, because it gives the industry a chance to see your talent. It's a way to break through. What I hate is the difficulty if you're someone who is not a name to break through. But the Television Academy created this short form outstanding comedy drama variety category. And I'm so grateful to them because it has allowed a lot of actors and creators, directors, filmmakers to independently put themselves up on a platform and show their work. And if the work is good enough, you get vetted. Now, Pepito's America, my current show that I'm acting, producing, is on the ballot for a nomination. And the nominations will be announced on July 12th. And Variety said, I am number 3 to get a nomination, which is huge. They have these predictions based on a poll. So Carlos Moreno, the creator, he's number 5 and the show's 7. But you have to see what you're up against. You're up against Netflix, Comedy Central, big companies who have marketing budgets that are huge and they throw plenty of money at the campaigning, and we're like the little engine that could. So I just keep hoping, believing, working hard, and getting us out there.
Oh yeah, and it's very easy. But these platforms and social media has really helped so much because unless you knew somebody or had a lot of money, as you said, it's difficult to be seen. But I'm going to mention something quickly, and then it's going to be your turn. So I'm just going to do a little word association, and it's your turn. Pepito's America. Your turn.
Okay. Well, it's I know I call it Pepito's America, but I'm continually reminded it's Pepito's America Mamadas. And Pepito is a beloved Latin character from Mexico who is, he has jokes that are double entendres. So if I say a Wavo production, Wavo can mean several things. But Pepito is a hustler who comes to LA and meets my character, Councilwoman Marian Price, pitches to do a commercial for me. And my big time financial donors, Tommy and Shelby Chong, who came on to the show as friends of mine and did a wonderful job and helped to really get us a bit of a buzz. They're thrilled with his commercial and it goes viral and he becomes an overnight sensation, which is the American dream. So that's what Pepito means to me. And America. America is anything can happen here, and thank God for that.
Well, I hear so much that I really want the viewers to know, and any teen viewers to know, or parents of teens. You have to hone your craft, and it seems that you had phenomenal acting from the beginning. But what do you do now to continuously hone your craft?
Well, as I mentioned yesterday, it's like going to the gym. I had two, auditions to get out. You have to just keep working, keep doing it. Um, Grateful to Pepito's America Mamadas and Carlos Moreno Jr. because he gave me an opportunity. I started out as an actress on the show, and I saw he was an incredible filmmaker. And I spoke to some friends of mine, who are name actors, and told them and asked them to come on, so that I got a producing credit for. And as Carlos, saw that I had other talents to write and direct, he let me expand into that. So I would say know everything. Even Carlos says that. He studied with a famous acting teacher in LA, Milton Casellas. And he'll say to you, Milton said, learn how to do it all. So all these younger adults that are going to college and learning things, like learn how to edit and make films and direct and, know all that's and write. In COVID, I spent 3 years hunkered down doing Sundance writing labs in fantasy and TV writing at Hal Grossman has Screenwriting U. I took a feature film class for a year and wrote my first feature, and also learned how to write TV, big for the TV to hook people. Right. So learn it all. My advice is winners make their own breaks. So figure out how you can do it and go dream it up, do it, and try. You have an iPhone, you can do so much just with that.
Yeah, you can make a movie with an iPhone now. I'm really intrigued by Do Everything, because oftentimes I will see someone who's on a show for a certain amount of time, a year, 2 or more, and the show's getting successful. Then all of a sudden you see their executive producer, but then all of a sudden you see they direct it. And my friends have said, oh, look at them, they're getting extra money for directing. A lot of times they don't realize they started with the dream of being a director. They started with the dream of being a writer. So this is hard work. This isn't something they said, hey, I'm already a star of the show, so I have to produce the next one, or I have to direct the next episode. I love that advice of doing everything. And I love that you are so connected with that. And I often talk about the story behind the glory, Jacqueline. So what were some of your biggest obstacles on your way to achieving success?
Well, I wasn't a name. I didn't have someone in my family that could help me. I had to figure it all out on my own. It actually made me stronger. The beauty of this business is if people see that you have the talent. For example, I was working on All My Children as Nurse Thomas. I had scenes with the famous Susan Lucci and, all the great soap operas, which they were the thing back in the late 80s and 90s when I started out. So glamorous to be on a soap opera. Everybody, you'd come home from school and everybody's parents would be watching it. I got called up to casting. And I thought, oh my God, what did I do? I'm in trouble. But in fact, they said to me, you are so helpful on the stage with the directors. Would you make a resume up to be a medical consultant? So I got a paycheck for acting and for medically consulting. And, I would put the blood pressure cuff on this way, make sure the EKG machine, looked right. And that was a big help to get me out of the hospital and doing what I loved more full time. So that's, just. And also with Carlos, he saw my ability to bring talent in and gave me a producing credit. I got great locations that didn't cost a thing. I got him a Bentley because he goes from Barrio to Bentley. He's driving my friend's Bentley. But when I got Ken Davidian from Borat to come on, I knew Ken very well, and he's Armenian. And Pepito is about embracing all different races, all different ethnicities, age groups. And I said, I know Ken very well. I see him entering as Zorba the Greek, and he, showing off his culture, that European sensibility. And so I called up Ken and I said, I'm writing your scene. I know he said, I'd love to play a villain. And I said, oh, good. All right. So I'm a good councilwoman, and you're going to be the villainous councilman who's involved with nightclubs and casinos. And that's how the writing happened for Pepito's America Mamadas. And Carlos, will review everything. And he's a very good writer. And he puts his magic sauce on and makes a few changes. And then there we go. And so the next episode, I asked him to direct, and he said, sure. So we co-directed episode 10. And he'll tell you right out, he rewards people who show that they can do things and have that talent. And he's a fantastic collaborator. So it is a blessing. Not everybody's like that. And with all my children, not everybody notices what you can do and rewards you. So those are little blessings that happened to me.
Oh, for sure. And the fact that you were a nurse and they recognized your know-how in the medical field made the show better, made those scenes better, I'm sure. So I think that was a win for everybody. Yeah. You talk about so many different things. I know in 2017 you did The Admired. I think you started it, you created it, you produced it, you directed it, wrote it.
Film slate, from directing and everything on it. I keep it around. That turned out to be a blessing. And this one is a Best Lead Actress Award here that I won. We won like 50 awards on the film circuit. And then at the Burbank Film Festival, this was, we won this little award here. But I have them scattered between LA and here and out on Long Island. And I just did it because I wanted to play that Veronica Lake type of actress who makes a deal to go back to the 40s and be a big movie star. And like you had mentioned yourself, you were intrigued with Loretta Young, and I was always intrigued with the studio system and how they put out these stars and how glamorous they looked. But The Admired is about what happens behind the scenes, because as we know, there is that Hollywood image, but then even like Rock Hudson, he presented himself as a fantastic leading man, but he had to cover up his sexual orientation. So I just find that fascinating, what the public sees and what's really behind, and the humanity inside the soul of a person.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And Carlos likes to portray that also in Pepito's America Mamadas. He, it has such soul and humanity and heart in it. And in my one scene, when I like his commercial that he's done for my mayoral campaign, he says, I put my heart into it, but that's really who he is. Yeah.
Well, to your point, you only know what you see. And I'm finding now more than ever with the advent of all these streaming services that, you see movies and you see a favorite actor in different roles. That's one thing. But when you see a series, Yellowstone, Schitt's Creek, it doesn't matter what it is, you start to become like a member of that cast yourself as the outsider looking in. So you really don't know anything about what goes on behind closed doors. So the premise of of your work, The Admired, is just so incredible, because actually what goes on in the background, people really are interested in. They just never get to see it. That's why all those magazines sell, the National Enquirer and things like that, right in the front of the supermarket, on your way out, because it tells you the things supposedly that you really don't know. But before we close today, I think you have so much information, so much experience. Jacqueline, what advice would you give to young people who are thinking about a career in the entertainment industry?
Well, I come from a place of lifting people up and wanting to empower everyone. And I said it wasn't easy for me, but I did it because I loved it. So I would say get as much training as you can. I mentioned earlier, learn how to do it all, the writing, the directing, the filmmaking of any kind, and create your own projects. I mean, take your iPhone and just go out there and show different sides of yourself. Even like social media is so powerful these days. On TikTok, you can, make your own YouTube channel, which I have. My YouTube channel is Jacqueline Murphy Actress, and Pepito's America. Carlos created his YouTube channel. Get a following, believe that you can do it, and get your training. But and try to stay focused, like write your goals down. If you really want to be an actress, then do your social media, meet the casting people, do some workshops, take it, but I think that the social media and making your own content is very strong right now, and that's where I would encourage them to go and just put it out there.
Great advice. And I love that stay focused piece. I think that's so important. So Jacqueline Murphy, I can't thank you enough for being with us today. I really want to thank you for sharing your stories and your experiences with both the good, the bad, and the difficult of being in this business. I wish you loads of luck on your Emmy nomination.
Thank you.
Yes. And to the viewers, I'm sorry.
Lovely to spend time with you.
Yeah, it's truly an honor. I just want to say to the viewers, don't forget to watch us on E360 TV, available on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. EST, available on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire. Remember to follow us on social media. Life Stories with Marc Hoberman is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and of course our YouTube channel, so subscribe. Jacqueline, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. And if I just might say, check out Pepito's America on YouTube, and we're on social media. I'm Jacqueline Murphy 13 on Instagram. JacquelineMurphy.net is my website. Jacqueline Actor on Twitter. And thank you for watching Pepito's America.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Actor and director Carlos Moreno Jr. is today's guest. Carlos talks about his extensive work in film, including his work in Pepito's America.
Actor, director, and writer Carlos Moreno Jr., welcome to Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.
Tis the season, my brother. Tis the season. Thank you.
We're getting ready for that snow here in Pennsylvania.
God, I don't miss it.
Yeah. Speaking about weather and where you live at the time, Carlos, let's talk about your childhood a bit. I think you were born in Texas, but maybe into a family of farm workers. I need to know what that was like.
Woo! Well, it's farm working in Michigan and Indiana and Ohio. We would work on tomatoes, strawberries, you name it, cherries. I started at a very young age, only to help, the parents out. And it was a sense of community. It was hard. I think there's good things and bad things about it. The good thing is that there was a sense of community and family. And there's not that much in the city. I mean, and when I mean that, it's like, for example, it could be like maybe 100 degrees outside, no wind, and we're working on the pickles or cucumbers, and we have to pick them. Right. And we didn't want to work because it was just so hot. So while we were bent over or kneeling on the floor, on the dirt, and picking up the crops, you would hear one person sing in Spanish. La la da da la da da, and then the other person behind you would start singing, and then the other person in front of you, and all you would hear like 30 people singing to give ourselves that kind of moving forward. We can do this no matter what. We will persevere this day because it's so hot, and by the time you know it, we will be at the end and we'll go home. So that sense of community is what the good thing about it. But the hard thing was of course the backbreaking, really hard labor. And then as a kid, I would say, well, at least I'm feeding people. So you kind of start to think like I'm doing something good in the world instead of just like, not doing anything at all. So you also do a lot of daydreaming. And since I was a kid, I used to daydream that I'd be doing this. Mm. And that, I would just go in la la land in my head, speaking asparagus or whatever. And I would see myself here and doing projects, and I'd smile and laugh and create scenarios in my head all day for like 10, 12 hours. So it helped.
So when did you first get the acting bug for yourself?
I was in college. I was a political science major. I went to University of New Mexico, and it was a little tough for me. Hollywood didn't know what to do with me. It still doesn't know. I'm very unique, very different. I'm not Black. I'm not Latin looking enough. I'm very different. And my roots are, I'm like 45% or 43% indigenous America. And then with a mixture of everything from Brazilian to all over Eastern, Jewish, you name it, African, Scottish, it's a mess. So I come here looking like this. I don't know what to do. So the first time was going to college and not, it was tough, man. It was tough. I couldn't act because I didn't look the part or whatever. So they gave me like the little lesser roles and put me on the side, and and I was always observing and looking and how to make things better. But when I was in college, I got my first gig. I was 20, I want to say 22, 21. And I got Taft-Hartley into the union, Screen Actors Guild, back then in Albuquerque. And then all of a sudden I was like the popular kid in the theater department because how did you get that? I just auditioned. And it was a role, it was a movie called East Meets West. And it was a Japanese American film. And I played a Native American. I had long hair, like, really down here, really straight. So I looked like a Native American kid. And I worked on it for about a month and I made a lot of money. And that was the first gig, like paid gig, where I said, whoa, I could do this. This was easy. All I have to do is audition and then I get the job. Did not know that it was a lot tougher once you come over here. So I got that money and I moved to LA. Eventually the university, because I had to leave the university because of the movie, the professors didn't want to work with me to reschedule my tests. So I flunked everything. I flunked acting class. I flunked voice class. Because I was in class, I was working on set.
Right.
And it was towards the very end of the semester. So there was no way that they could help me out. So they kicked me out of school. I was like I was a junior. And so I needed a year left and they kicked me out. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to go to Hollywood and I'm just going to do this out in LA. But that was the bug, was in college.
Well, that's also a very big, it's great that it's your passion. That's quite a gamble, because how many stories have we read about people went out to Hollywood and they get jobs as waiters so they can audition during the day, and it doesn't always work out. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because on my show, I often talk about the story behind the glory. So now you're writing, you're directing, you've been on so many things. But what were some of the struggles you had once you went out to Hollywood? You had a great, successful story as an actor who made money while a college student. But now you're in the big leagues. You're in the AAA or the AA, and you go to the majors in Hollywood. And I don't think they said, oh, look who just got here. Here's the first 3 big movie roles. So, there might have to be some struggles along the way. What was that like?
Yeah. So going back to college, when I auditioned, I remember my counselor, because I said I wanted to leave class because nobody wanted to do scenes with me in class. And she said, but you got to get a union card. And I go, well, okay, what is that? And I said, well, it's a SAG card. All right, well, I'll just get it. And he goes, no, hon, it's really hard to get it. It's a catch-22. You got to do this and that. So I said, I'm going to get it. And within a month or two, I booked a job. And then I said, I got it. She was like, what? How did you do that? It was something in the universe, me just calling it out. So now I come to LA, right? And it was in 96. And back then we had black and white headshots, and agents were so much approachable, and casting directors were so much nicer, not so cold. I mean, they were cold, but not that cold. So now I'm here and there's no job, like I gotta get a job. So I was scared. I was scared. I had to figure it out. So my first thing was get a book, and it had all these agents, and get a job. And so I started looking for a job, and I ended up in going to Apple One Agency, which is a temporary agency. And that was my first big job. And I ended up working with Disney Interactive. So I was a game tester for a long time. And the game tester kind of helped me continue on going to auditions, buying a small little car. But it was like an unknown territory, and I wasn't being cast on anything. I think the first time I got cast for something, it was in a Spanish TV show, Carlos Beltran's. And it was a big, big show. George Lopez's derivative from that show, by the way, the George Lopez. And I had a guest star in it. And then I said, oh, it had been like maybe 3 years since I hadn't booked anything. So in the meantime, I was just working at Disney. I was really grateful that I found a position that paid very well and kept me sustained. So I wasn't a waiter. I wasn't a bartender. So I had a regular 9 to 5 job that I would kind of leave to go to auditions in the afternoon. Lunch, what? Oh, I'm going to go eat. No, okay, go to the audition. But now we have tape. So this is fantastic, like what we have now. So you can do it anytime.
Yeah. Wow. So I hope nobody from Disney's watching. They're going to wonder where you were all that time they paid you for those lunch breaks. But yeah, so time to name drop a little bit. Why don't you name some of the shows, whether it's a guest starring role or whatever you've been involved with, that a lot of viewers would be familiar with?
Dexter was a big one for me. So there's so many. ER was a big one for me.
How long were you on? What'd you do on Dexter? Was that a one episode gig?
One episode gig. And I kind of changed the story a little bit. It's a very interesting thing because, once I got here, I had to find an acting class. So that's like something else. And then I found an acting class and I used the technique. And now I became a real actor. Everything that I knew in college was like, no bueno. And I became a real actor once I got this mentor. So on Dexter, really quick story. We were like coming from Cuba, I believe. My character was Cuban. And we were coming on a boat. And the boat was pretty big. And Michael C. Hall was in it. But Dexter, he was in the back. I guess the episode he was floating out on the ocean, and so we find him. And then it was me and this other lady and this other guy. So there was 3 of us, and she was pregnant, and so we were all different characters. And I said, in the morning, she knocked on my door, and I looked at her. I'm like, "Oh my God, you're pregnant!" And she goes, "Hey, yeah, how you doing?" The actress.
All right.
I said, "Can I ask you for a favor?" She goes, "What?" When we go to meet the director, can you and I just hold hands? And she goes, "Why?" So we can say that we're together, like we're married and she goes, "Oh my God, that's fantastic." So now my character had so much more than just me trying to get to America. Now it's me and my wife. Wow. So we walk in, the director looks at it, he's like, "You guys are together." I go, "Yes." And then he goes, "Oh, thank you. I found it. It's not in the script, but I found it." And then now Dexter's character has a much more reason to fight because now I'm fighting with the guy that wanted more money from us. He has a gun pointed to me. It was there's a fight, and then he kills the bad guy. Dexter does, and then I come and I hold my wife, and all this new scene came out of just holding the hand.
Well, it's great that the director was willing to make that kind of change. I think that's incredible. So we're talking about the acting and the shows you've done. So I've been, not at many, but I've been at a few award shows in Hollywood. I was at the HAPA Awards, the Hollywood African American Awards, but nothing like the Academy Awards or something like that. So can you describe the vibe of the work you did, Coco, winning like Best Animated Feature at the 90th Academy Awards? I mean, if I was driven by the Academy Awards while the show was about to start, that'd be enough for me.
Yeah.
So what is that like for a person so involved and steeped in it?
Yeah. So my first big red carpet was Transformers. I'm one of the original cast of Transformers, the first one. And that was like an eye opener for me. It was fantastic. You see a lot of stars and you're among them. And you're just you're putting your little touch, your little, here I am. But I've never felt like I'm part of the group. I don't know why. I've always felt I'm looking in instead of being in. And same thing with the Oscars. Like, we went to, I went to 3 different parties. I ended up at Vanity Fair. Well, my publicist, we went through the whole different arrays because that's where you get to meet other people and connect and everybody's celebrating. It was a surreal, I'll be honest with you. It was, I got a lot of text messages. I ended up taking a photo with the Oscar in my hand and with the director, and it just doesn't feel right. There's something more that's missing, and I don't know what it is. And I had to figure out for myself because I'm in it. I'm just being very honest with you. So maybe I feel like I'm not good enough. I'll be honest. I'm still looking for the answer. And I don't know. I mean, it feels great taking photos with all these celebrities over here. I got Rita Moreno. All the other photos that I've taken around. You do all the interviews, but I still feel like I'm not there. I feel, to be honest with you, Mark, like I'm that kid back there working in the fields, still daydreaming, brother.
Well, some would argue that's a good thing, because oftentimes that certain people in Hollywood are wonderful, certain people in Hollywood are tainted. But that's why I call it the story behind the glory, because there's a lot of work, there's a lot of auditions where they say, not now, not this time. I want to circle back because you said, you didn't feel like you were part of the group. I thought I heard you say that you were either in an acting class or something, and the other people didn't want to do scenes with you.
Yeah.
I want to circle back to that. What was the reason for that?
That was in college. I've always felt the oddball in a group. And believe it or not, I know I'm talking because I'm being very personal with you. So this is very personal to me that I'm sharing this.
Okay.
It just felt like I was never good enough to be part of anything, no matter what I do. And so, including Hollywood. And so Hollywood I've had little parts here and there, but not to where I can really show you the full glory of I'm going through inside. And I can give you little snippets of, this is what I did with Dexter. This is what I did with CSI. This is because there's a lot of shows that I've done. And they give me, co-stars, once in a while guest stars. And that's when I can really fully explore. But I've always felt like the oddball not being welcome. And now when a project or a TV show welcomes you, I can't remember the name of the show right now. I was a guest star in it. And when I say that, I feel more like accepted. And it's just an interesting thing that I have to go through this, and I don't understand. I'm being very honest with you. This is very personal, like I said. So they just, Shakespeare. Well, I don't look like a Shakespeare character back in 1990. So what do you do? Everybody is doing. So I'm like the guy in the back, doing this and that. So that's what I mean. It's like I've never been the star of anything. So like I said, Hollywood does the same thing. They have their own table with their own chairs, and there's no chair for me on that table. So I created my own table with my own chairs, and I play with people that want to come, and I'm very open. I'm not like, no, I'm like, whoa, that's interesting. Oh, come and sit at the table and have some fun.
Interesting. I know there's the singer Louis Capaldi. He was at an award show, and he was so not well known that they have seat fillers, as you know, with these shows. They don't want to pan the audience and show 2 seats empty. He was at the bathroom, and when he came back, they thought he was a seat filler. They didn't realize he was a guest. So some of these people who are well known, and some of these people who do have tremendous success, it's can be cold, as you know, sometimes. But I know the worldly you, I know you consider yourself to be a citizen of the world, which I find so interesting. I had director Arthur Kanigis on my show, I think 2 years ago, and he was the director of a project, and it was called The World Is My Country. And you consider yourself a citizen of the world. So what's the reasoning and philosophy behind that?
I travel the world, and I see myself in others around the world. I've been to Brazil, I've been to Europe, all over, and I mingle. Like when I was doing a project in Puerto Rico, it was a show called Mad Dogs. I think it was on Amazon, and I was down there for 3 weeks. So when I say citizens of the world, I don't consider myself that artist. I go and explore the real people. So I don't go to the trendy. I mean, I will go and just take a look at whatever is the places that you go to visit in Puerto Rico, like, San Juan, you go and watch the doors, you go to the little section of San Juan. But then I go to the little alleys of San Juan because I hear music. I'm like, what is that over there? So I go and I see a group of people, and they're playing their music and people are dancing in an alley, literally in an alley. And I go, wow, this is fascinating. So then I see these two couple and they're like in their 70s and they're kissing. And I go, this is beautiful. Like older people kissing in public. I love this. This is like what life should be. So then I go, how long have you guys been married? And they say, oh, we're not. And I was like, oh, okay. And then they said, let me tell you the story. She left to America, got married, had kids. The husband dies, and then she came back and we bump into each other again. And now we're together. It was meant to be. I was like, that's wonderful. Let me buy you some beers. So I bought them beers. And then the next thing you know, her friend comes in and she's another older lady and she has a little something here to drink. And they introduce me. Next thing you know, I'm dancing with this 80-year-old lady. Next thing you know, hey, you want to come and have dinner with us? And I was like, what? So then they take me to their homes and they open up their homes to me. And now I'm like the actor. Everybody's taking photos with me.
Right.
That's what I mean of the citizen of the world, because I like real people. I hide and I become a chameleon and I just want to be with real, honest group of people. And I'm talking about in the gangs here, or like I live in LA, so I can go to the hood and I can hang out with the bros. I can hang out with the lawyers. I can hang out with the actors, with the doctors, with this. And I'm very interested in every aspect of life, because that's, as an artist, you have to do this. You have to ask questions and not condemn or judge anybody else, because I might learn something that I didn't. And I think that's special. That's what I mean by citizen of the world.
That's tremendous. I mean, there's two ways to go here. One is that's so wonderful and great philosophy. The other one is based on all the alleys you go in. I don't know that I would ever lend you money, because I don't know if I'm going to see you again because of all these alleys you keep going into. But what beautiful stories that is. Now, I want to close with everything Pepito, because now it's not just acting, it's writing, and you're in different realms of talent, different realms of movie making. So I want to hear everything Pepito.
Yeah, so Pepito came to me about a few years ago, going through this whole thing. Also, Latinos are very competitive with each other. I don't know if you noticed that, since Hollywood doesn't offer a lot of roles because we're so underrepresented. Whatever role they give us, you have the Dominicans, you have the Puerto Ricans and the Mexicans and the Salvadorians, and they all are looking at each other for the same part. And it's like, oh, we're better than Puerto Ricans, or we're better than the Colombians, whatever. They're all here, the actors, right? So I said, what is one thing that I could unite all of us under one umbrella? And it's this character right here, Pepito. Pepito jokes have been around in our culture for over 100 years at this point. My grandparents used to know them. They're no longer alive. My family knows them. Around all Latin Americas know this character named Pepito. I believe in Venezuela, I think his name is Jaimito, but I like the Pepito word better. It sounds funnier in your mouth. So I said, I'm going to create this character and I'll make him into a man. And I want people to see the flaws, the good things, the bad things, the good, evil, whatever, and make fun of himself as he goes through, as you go through, my friend, we go through life. And he has issues. He's got problems, insecurities, family issues, pathology issues. And so it grew into making, I went to Hollywood and say, hey, I got an idea. And they's like, huh? Oh, no, go away. So I said, during COVID, you know what? I got a little bit of money that the government sent me during COVID. I'm going to shoot little shorts of it because I need to exercise it out, like an exorcism. I got this. I gotta get out of myself. Otherwise, I'm going to drown. So I started doing little shorts. And so I did the first one. Then I did one with Maria Conchita Alonso. And then the third one came in, and then we after that, I needed more money, right? So after the third episode, the third episode, I did a crowdfunding and we got 10 grand to do the rest of the episodes. And I made them a lot shorter. And I just did what my mentor told me, Milton Katselas. He just said, just do your work. Mm-hmm. Do it to the best ability that you can, Mark. And do it with your heart, your whole, because when you do it with hearts with your hearts will follow if it's real. But if you oots it and didn't know. So I just went with what Milton taught us. And here comes Jacqueline Murphy, which I'm really grateful that I got an opportunity to work with her. And then we ended up cutting it and presenting it and putting it on social media. YouTube was the first flavor that we got. Then we ended up submitting it to the Academy, not knowing. I mean, Jacqueline helped us out get some really reputable actors that I am in love with. I'm very grateful. One of them was Tommy Chong, his wife, and there's a couple of other ones that are kind of spacing out my mind right now because there's so many actors now at this point. It's not just 4 or 5. So it's like 20, a whole bunch of them. So we went through the whole entire process, Mark, and I learned a lot being in the Academy now. They got to review it, and then we went to being considered, and now my name is out there, and now people are watching this thing. Right. And at this point, my friend, I can honestly say to you that there's always a question of this is not going to work, right? Or all of that. And then now I had to pull it out of YouTube because we're in talks right now. I can't say with who, but we're pretty close. And hopefully you'll be seeing it soon on major TV. And you're the first interview that got to hear this, but we're really close. So I had to pull it out a couple of weeks ago. They said, cut it out because we're going to show them, hopefully. Yep. And so we're in that stage right now. And hopefully I'll have some really good news by the end of the year or by the beginning of the year, but I'm thinking it'll be the end of the year. So this allowed me that's me as a kid, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Cartoon. And the reason why this kid is there is because Pepito, when we do the show, we will have flashbacks, and it'll be animation as me as a little boy. Wow. Working in the fields or whatever the stories are, and we're going to show you the little jokes that we grew up with for all these years, and give you a little bit of essence of this kid and why we love him. He's our first Latino superhero. You can say that.
Well, you can do a fake shout out to me as long as they're singing in the field, because I remember you said about that singing. So the second I see that's part of it, I'm going to brag and say that's what resonates with me. But it's so exciting, and it's a lesson in perseverance because nothing comes easy, as you know. But to put your own money into it, which is like the number one thing in Hollywood, always use OPM, other people's money. So I wish you so much luck with that. I'm so excited that this is the first show where that's even partly discussed. Let me just say quickly to the viewers, don't forget to watch us on E360 TV, available on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. EST on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire. Remember to follow us on social media. Life Stories of Marc Hoberman is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and of course our YouTube channel. So remember to subscribe. Carlos Moreno Jr., I cannot thank you enough for being here and actually sharing so many personal stories. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was wonderful. I hope to see you soon and talk to you again soon.
Best of luck.
Thank you to the audience.
Today's guest is Jacqueline Murphy, an award-winning actress, producer, and writer whose work has been on the FYC Emmy nomination ballot twice. This past year, Pepito's America and The Admired, now transformed into the TV series Sorceress of Hollywood. She's here to share insights into her newest film, Yellowbird, inspired by her experiences as a nurse during the rise of the opioid epidemic.
Actress, writer, and more, Jacqueline Murphy, welcome back to Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.
Thank you so much, Mark. It's always a delight to be here, and I'm so excited to talk with you again. Our world moves so quickly. You and I are always doing so many things, and I'm just so happy to be here and talk about what's going on in LA and New York and with new projects and also with you.
Absolutely. And, many people don't do so much in the span of time since your last interview, but you do so much. So here we are. I'm ready to go. It's only been about a year and a half or so, but it looks like you've done so many things recently. So let's first start with how did the writer's strike impact your life?
Well, the writer's strike and Screen Actors Guild really slowed things down in Hollywood, and things are starting to pick up here. I actually picketed in front of Paramount Studios as a SAG-AFTRA actor, and it was very organized. My husband and I met up with Carlos from Pepito's America, and they had these signs, and we were given T-shirts, and they fed us, and they took very good care of us. So I'm proud to be a part of that union. I've been a SAG member since 1982. So I'm so glad that's resolved, because at the end of the day, I think everybody wants to work together and create things. And, we all have a passion in this business. So it did slow things down, but we're getting back to work, which is great. I used that quiet time to work on my script, a new script that I wanted to talk with you about. It's called Yellowbird, also known as Opioid Days, inspired by when I was a registered nurse in New York back in the 90s, when opioids started to hit the market. And the genesis of that was someone very close to me, a young adult, had got addicted to opioids, like 1, 2, 3, boom. And I started seeing articles about young football players going in for shoulder surgery and getting hooked on opioids. And I thought, oh my God, I remember as a nurse, people who were addicted would actually approach me hoping I would be able to get medication from the hospital. And I said, I can't do that. It's triplicate that it goes to the state, the pharmacy, the hospital, and my RN license. I worked very hard for that. And so I just saw how pervasive it was. And this story in particular is a little different because it's inspired by my personal experiences. So it's a narrative, it's imaginative. I have embellished it a little bit, but the gist of it, Mark, is it's about a recovering substance abuse nurse and a pharmaceutical heiress join forces to take down their brilliant but greedy dads, a pharma king and a brilliant Nobel winning biochemist who has a gambling addiction, and he needs to keep upping the level of fentanyl or opioid in the drugs he makes, and he does all these things to bypass the FDA. But I know you and I are so passionate about helping young adults and helping people in general. And if I could save a life or shed some light on this subject, or if someone, hopefully the film will get made. If I have to make it myself, I'm going to be shooting some short proof of concept in the fall. But if it makes someone feel, oh my God, like I'm not judged. I went through this too. Maybe I should get help. Or a parent, oh my God, my kid has this problem, and just somehow let them know they're not alone. So that was the emphasis of that. And I believe you got involved in a book
Right.
related to the opioid crisis because you're so passionate about helping others
Right.
and young people in particular as a teacher.
Right. Well, interesting. So, A Journey to Recovery, Speak Sobriety is the story of Stephen Hill, the true story. And he was a former student of mine. And I was able to co-author his book. And right now he's tearing it up in schools, speaking about it so much. But what's so interesting to me is that you mentioned a year, and you said when I was a nurse back in the 90s. So, it's interesting when I hear hits on the radio from the 70s, I'm like, oh, that song's 30 years old. No, that song's 50 years old. So when you talk about the 90s, you're talking 30 years ago. This is not a new problem. And
right.
And you're right in that I do have a passion for helping people. And there's actually on Amazon Prime, Surviving the Hill. I was the associate producer of a documentary about it. But I'm so interested. Thank you. I'm so interested that you saw it as a nurse. It's just a totally different perspective because, like you say, you had a friend and bam, like that. So now it's not just people think about, I'll give you the negative connotation where the junkies in the street. No, these are people who go in and have back pain, and doctors who they trust are overprescribing, and to say billions are at stake is an understatement. So the fact that you took it and you're turning it into, even though it's sort of fictionalized, it's like a true account of things you went through. So the question I have for you is that it's so many different tentacles here because you write it and you're an actress, and you're a nurse that has seen it. So how does your acting experience become part of your writing strategy?
Great question. I like to write about things, Mark, that are part of my soul and my heart. And I always loved helping people. And I find things that I can connect to deeply, even as an actress. And for me, this is my Rocky story.
Right.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, Sylvester Stallone wrote Rocky,
Mhm.
and he insisted he was going to direct it and star in it. If I had my druthers, I would love that. Um, because I think the legacy I want to leave behind for people that know me, or my nephews or nieces,
Mhm.
or my loved ones is, wow, you know, if I could make a tiny difference, that would be huge. So I want to share with people like the struggles I had coming up. So I used a little bit of what it was like growing up in my family in the film, you know, the struggles we had. I have never been addicted to anything because I saw at a very early age what addiction could do to people around me. So I, decided that, okay, you're not going down that road. Educate yourself, become a professional, but yeah, so I say it's my Rocky story because it has so much of me in it. And I think some people are great at just writing things off the top of their head, like George Martin with Game of Thrones, you know? But for me, maybe it is my acting background that I was trained to find, by the amazing Stella Adler, that find things inside of you and see where you can go with that and connect to it deeply. So this subject means so much more to me. And, back in 2016, when I was making The Admired, it was based on, on myself, a frustrated actress wanting to be a glamorous Hollywood movie star. And I just did it because I wanted to play like a Veronica Lake type of a role
Mhm.
and have some fun. And I had no idea we were going to win awards, no idea that there was somehow I would be able to shape it to be submitted and vetted to be on the For Your Consideration Emmy nomination ballot. But that was like a sidebar for me. My mom was an artist. She could play anything she heard. She would go over to the piano and start playing it. So I come from a very creative, free family. And they always said you have to work hard and get your education and have a profession. But if you want to act, then set yourself up for it. So I'm eternally grateful to my grandparents and my mom. Um, and so with this, during COVID, I started writing Yellowbird, the opioid script,
Right.
because it was so close to me. And I just feel like that is part of who I am, helping others and wanting to make a difference and, maybe saving a life. But if I can get that movie up, and it won't be a doc, but to get it up and have someone in the audience be moved by it and think, just provoke a little thought or possible change or a helping hand to somebody, that would mean everything to me.
And I know there's so much you always work on. So I'm so excited for this project. And I know you're going to make it happen. Just like Stallone was told, we'll give you 250,000 for your script, but we don't want you. So I know, so he made it so it was him. So I know that dream's going to happen because I know who you are. But you also mentioned The Admired, but it started as The Admired and then you transformed into, I think, the Sorceress of Hollywood. So could you walk us through that transformation?
Yes. So I think a lot of actors are making their own content here in LA today, and the TV Academy has opened up this category, short form comedy and drama, which really is fantastic because we can make something and be our independent producer on it and have an opportunity to have it seen and shown, and that is huge. So with the Admired, like I said, the Academy acknowledged short form drama comedy back, I think, in 2017 or 16, and I was on the ballot the second year, and I didn't even know that that was a possibility. And then when it came along with Carlos from Pepito's America, he had seen my work, and he said, "Will you help me? Will you come on as a producer?" And I did, and we were vetted, and we got on the ballot as well. And we had a pretty good run. We were up against the big boys. I mean, Vanity Fair, they do not Vanity Fair, Variety. They said I was number 3 to be nominated, and the show was number 5, and Carlos was number 7. And we had a beautiful little article in the Emmy magazine that the Television Academy puts out. And it was just driven by passion and excitement. And to get that far was a huge gift. So, Sorceress of Hollywood, I decided, again, what's the message? What's my voice? What do I want to put out there for? I always think in terms of my nieces and my nephews, and what do I want them to believe? Now, in back of me, it says, how far would you go, to get your dream? But at the end of the day, in The Admired, I make a Faustian deal with the devil so that I could be a big movie star. But I thought, well, what if I have a genetic talent for magic that I don't have to rely on the devil, but I can rely on myself? We're talking about self-empowerment. And what is inside me? What are the hidden talents we all have that we have no idea? I had no idea I could write until COVID and we were shut down, and I really loved it. And then I created The Admired. It all just gelled together. So the question is, how can you empower yourself? What are your talents inside you? And, my husband was even kidding me the other day because I'm just launching, during the Screen Actors Guild and the writers' strike, I started interviewing people around Hollywood. And then when the strike was over, the award seasons kicked back, and I started interviewing people on the red carpet, which is something I've done since 2006. We had a Screen Actors Guild strike back around that time. And, I was hosting, TV shows like yourself, but interviewing actors, mainly filmmakers. So I'm going to launch a new show called Entertainment Today with Jacqueline Murphy and Steve Taylor, who's had that great title that he owns for over 30 years. And I might add health, travel, fitness, creativity, different filmmakers, but that's my idea with it. But we have to stay focused in this business. Like you said, I have the Sorceress of Hollywood, where I have a TV packager taking it around to see, can we get that TV series made? Yellowbird, the opioid story, I plan to do a proof of concept in the fall. And this entertainment show, Entertainment Today, I'm going to go to Europe for my 30th anniversary. I'm going to Budapest and Prague, Vienna, Salzburg, Sound of Music country, and Amsterdam for tulip season. So my idea there, I always loved Samantha Brown on the Travel Channel back in the day. I don't know if you remember her, but again, during the strikes, back in 2010 or whenever it was, I would do these little travel videos. So I have a lot of material to inspire people to go out there and adventure. And I think Buddha said we all should take an amazing trip for the heart and the soul at least once a year to inspire us and get out of what we normally do, to see the world in a different way. So those are the kind of things I'm working on right now.
It's great. You're always so busy. I have to circle back just for a second because I'm an educator at heart. And I mean, I had Stan Zimmerman on my show. He was a writer for the Gilmore Girls, the Golden Girls.
Stan.
Yeah.
I know Stan.
Yeah, great guy.
He actually, he coached me when I first came to LA as an actress. And he had my friend Cheryl Lee Ralph, who has now won an Emmy for Abbott Elementary, terrific actress. He was working on a play, workshopping a play with her a couple of years back in New York City. Yeah, so small world.
So talented. And I saw things on his social media about the writer's strike and being, on the picket line. And that's so special to me because I thought
only teachers and Teamsters would go on strike. And, I couldn't believe the family of talent and the people and how much they backed the union and how much the SAG and all the other unions and whatnot. But that really touched my heart because you see these people and you're larger than life. The average person is not in front of the camera. You talk about 15 minutes of fame. Some of you guys have that 15 minutes of fame each day. So you see that, and it really was great. And you really got to see the human side, the authentic side of the actors, the actresses, and the writers. I just also want to circle back for a second because I can't remember anyone who I've interviewed, and I've interviewed professional athletes, actors, writers who said, "Oh, by the way, then I was a nurse." Well, back when I was an RN, I've never heard anyone say that before. So, could you give me a snapshot of A, what you thought about the nursing profession, and B, what you took from that above and beyond the story you're writing now that informs, because I know it informs you as an actress and a writer and a human being?
Yeah. Okay. So I was a bit of a rebellious kid. And I was 15 and I cut out of school, and my guidance counselor had me come into the office and he showed me my IQ. And he said, "You're a very smart girl. What's going on at home?" And I'm just sharing something very personal here. And I adore you. And I'm happy because maybe there's someone out there who's listening. So 5 kids, 3-bedroom house, stepfather works for the state, not having a lot of money coming in. I'm 15. I said, I don't have any money, and I, would love to get a job, and school is not doing it for me. He said, "What if I could get you a job and double you up so you get out of school a year ahead? And what would you like? How would that be?" I said, "Great." So he gets me a job at Islip Marine Center. I'm selling worms and bait and, oh my God, who wants to touch this stuff? And fishing equipment. And the guys would come in and see this girl behind the counter. It's like, who is this girl? And the local paper wrote something. There's a girl, Jacqueline Murphy, working at Islip Marine Center. I just found this because I'm doing another script based on my life growing up on Long Island called Racing to the Hamptons. And I'm using it on my poster, this little boat with the ad for Islip Marine Center that says, "Jacqueline Murphy is such a nice girl and so beautiful. I hope she stays here for a long time." Well, Mr. McEwen, the dean from Islip, he got me that job. It was like $2 an hour, $1.85 back in the day. And from there, my boss recommended me for a Lions Scholarship. It was like $500. I went to Suffolk Community for 2 years, got my RN at 19, worked with my first job. My dad worked for the state. I worked with developmentally at Suffolk Developmental Hospital, Melville, with the children who had disabilities, which was heartbreaking. But the point is, at 17, I was going into hospitals and seeing the effect of someone who was an alcoholic, of a girl who took estrogen and had a stroke and was incapacitated, of people who were high and had overdoses, and I never knew what I was going to walk into. And when I think to myself now, like, there was like a curtain that kind of came down, and I would walk in and triage, like, what is my job? How am I going to save this person? And to have that kind of seriousness at that age, it kind of stays with you, but it's also a discipline, like when you're a nurse. So knowing I had this dream of being an actor, because I would reenact things from the time I was 3, doing Mae West, accents, and telling my other 4 siblings, "Let's do the Sound of Music. You're going to start down at the end of the basement stairs, and when you get to the top, till you find your dream." I always knew I wanted to act. So I was so determined. And this is why I say to everybody, believe in your dreams. I am getting out of islip. I am going to work at a local hospital, get my credit, get into New York. I was fortunate, New York Hospital, Cornell Medical. It was a teaching hospital. I got a job there. I was in charge of a floor after 3 months on the 4 to 12 shift. Then a girlfriend, I would go to school from 9 to 1 for acting, work at the hospital 4 to 12. A friend said to me, you're killing yourself in charge of the floor and trying to be an actress. Why don't you do private duty like me? So I segued into that. And when I graduated the American Academy Dramatic Arts, Mark, all my children saw in my resume that I was a registered nurse. So they gave me my first job as in a recurring role as Nurse Thomas. And it was heady because the soaps were so glamorous back in the, late 80s, early 90s. And I had scenes opposite Susan Lucci and Walt Wiley and Peter Bregman and, all the stars that have won Emmys and are fabulous actors. And they also asked me to medically consult. So that kicked me off for 10 years of doing every soap opera in New York, working, in smaller parts on Hannah and Her Sisters with Woody Allen. I was cast as a nurse. Nora Ephron in Mixed Nuts, she also cast me as a nurse. And then the wonderful Ron Howard, he cast me as a nurse. I had scenes with Michael Keaton and Marissa Tomei. So I kept building. I kept thinking, because no one's going to help you. You might get a hand here and there, but always figure out what can you offer, what can you bring, that is of value, like your heart, you're helping all these students and you're a wonderful teacher. And I love your great success behind you. But, if someone were to say, like, what do I do? Just look with, how am I going to get from A to B? And my husband was kidding me the other day, when this Entertainment Today show kind of took a life of its own. And he said, your genius is making something out of nothing. And so that's what I would like to offer everybody out there today. It's, what is your genius? Right. What makes you feel like you're on fire? What do you have within you that you can get to the next step? It's definitely not going to happen overnight, and it may never happen. But if you don't go for it and reach for the gold ring or the star, go as high as you can, well, how far are you willing to go? Which is, again, the log line of this. So it's not, how far are you going to go to get what you want? For me, it's within the realm of I would never hurt anybody or do something unethical. For me, it's like, well, pick up your game, Jacqueline, what are you going to do to be of value or service or have something to offer or make a difference? So, because otherwise it's not worth it for me.
So, Sean, I have to tell you, I have to think about how to market this episode, because I may have to call it a master class. Jacqueline Murphy just gave us a master class in humanity, in acting, in passion. So, Jacqueline Murphy, thank you for returning to the show and sharing your many new and exciting projects, Yellowbird, and all the things that you're doing, and the story with Long Island and the Hamptons, and just incredible. I heard a rumor that you did sleep for an hour once in November, but that's another story. So. To the viewers, don't forget to watch us on E360 TV, available on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. EST on Roku, Apple Fire, Apple TV, Amazon Fire. Remember to follow us on social media. Life Stories with Marc Hoberman is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and of course, YouTube channel. So remember to subscribe. Jacqueline Murphy, thank you so much for being here again today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And if they want to learn more about my work, I have my website, jacquelinemurphy.net. theadmire.com, and I'm also on YouTube. I post all my travel videos and my award shows and my films at Jacqueline Murphy Actress. So thank you so much, and great to meet
everybody.
You all.
Check that out. More magic at those sites and that social media there. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Mark. Always a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. To contact Marc, email him at info@lifestorieswithmarchoberman.com or visit him on social media through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.